Like colleges across the country, UCLA is moving its fall quarter from in-person to online. Learning online can be hard, so we spoke to 3 UCLA professors and researchers and asked them for their advice. They laid out 4 evidence-based strategies. Developing a routine, using context learning, avoiding distractions, and testing yourself. These strategies will help with learning in the virtual world.
Routines in general build habits. And so once we build habits, we're no longer exerting as much willpower.
Students have often a lot more control over when and where and how they learn information. It's not like there's an instructor there right with you and sort of guiding you in your learning.
There's something called time blocking, but it's basically this idea on Google Calendar or something else where you block off the same times every week that you're doing something. That helps you realize when you're going to be studying, when you're going to be watching the video, when you're going to be doing the homework. As soon as they start time blocking, they'll realize their week is filling up.
So students have to be more organized. They have to plan out their learnings, how they learn, when they learn. They need to do a lot more taking charge of that process.
I think a lot of students are used to, I'm just going to decide to do it, and if it doesn't work, then I'm a failure, like something's wrong with me. But it's more like, what strengths can I build on? What's working, what's not, and let me adjust so that it starts working.
What you're learning, you're not just learning these abstract kind of concepts in a vacuum, or you're not remembering things in a vacuum. Kind of like as you encode something, kind of part of that encoding is becoming almost like attached to these different cues in your environment.
If when you are taking a test, you are in an environment or you're in a situation where there are reminders of things that were present when you were learning that information, that can sometimes remind you and help you remember things on the test.
All of these things, there are many things that affect encoding, and kind of the things around you, maybe just like another one of those memory cues or like memory triggers that can affect what you recall. So that's why I said, like, if you're recording this list or if you're retrieving a list in a completely different spot, some of those like hints in your surrounding environment wouldn't necessarily be there.
Even back when we were able to be on campus, there are these effects where if the final exam took place where the lectures took place, students tend to do better, not always, but tend to do better than if the final exam is in a brand new place that students have never been before. It's unfamiliar.
For many people, they're always going to be doing their studying in the same place now. But it's not just like environmental context that can matter. So just like thinking of something in a different way, being kind of in a different mindset when you're studying it can also kind of act as a separate context.
One of the biggest problems with online learning would be the presence of distractions.
It's so hard to stay focused on a Zoom meeting when your email and TikTok or whatever else is happening over here. I think if you're metacognitive, then you don't have to exert as much willpower because you realize, like, I don't need that, I'm going to turn that off.
Ideally, learners can find a quiet, uninterrupted environment where they're by themselves, they can focus fully on the information they're trying to master rather than have to deal with all these competing distractions.
I would encourage students not just to like passively rewatch a lecture. So maybe you say like, oh, I kind of zoned out, I'm just going to watch the whole thing again. Maybe challenge yourself to kind of like have targeted repractice, so like only watch sections that you're confused about, and instead ask yourself to generate the information instead of just watching somebody do it again.
One of the most evidence-based techniques is having people talk to one another, talk to their peers about the material. Either discussing it and processing it and quizzing each other and organizing the information. The reason that it's helpful is it forces students to articulate their thoughts and practice the vocabulary they're learning.
Interleaving is one way of introducing what's known as variation into your learning. Not just focusing on one thing at a time, but switching it up, writing something down and then speaking it aloud. And you could do that at the same location. You could do that with whether it's in the classroom or whether it's at home, you could do that anywhere. If you want to add variation, you might consider things like changing how you practice something, whether it's quizzing yourself or summarizing, just using different methods to mix it up. So you might have to adapt that a little bit if you're at home.
While learning online is hard, using these techniques will give us just a little more confidence in learning in the virtual world.